I was like, yeah, do you know her? She's kind of famous. She's like, who? I'm like, Young Kale. She's like, you know Stargirl?
You are now listening to K Money Hotline.
This is a Stargirl, astrologist, evil genius. How did she do it?
My astrologer, Kayla. If Kayla's, Kayla, it never misses.
Kayla, you have such a gift. It spooks me out.
I was like, Stargirl's that girl.
K Money Hotline.
Hello people, welcome back to episode 4, which actually feels like episode 2. We have a lot to cover today. There's a lot on the docket. I tend to, especially when doing like these solo episodes, I have done them with other people before, things that have been recorded and never uploaded. And if you remember back in K Money Hotline circa 2021, I had an episode with Kenzie. Whenever I'm alone, I often tend to get like very philosophical, which is fine. And I do like getting in that mode. And I do think that other people enjoy it. I get a lot of DMs saying like, this is how I feel. This is what I think about. Thank you for sharing this, etc. However, there's like a lot of things. I'm a big consumer of media, of information. I'm a big reader, I'm a big writer, I'm a big watcher, I'm a big listener. And so a lot of the things that I think about come from bouncing off of like the media that I intake, a lot of which includes like shows and celebrity gossip and things in pop culture. And I like to think that I'm sort of an anthropologist in the sense that I'm a big studier of people and social dynamics and power and control dynamics, particularly from like reality shows. Anything like Real Housewives to Vanderpump Rules, a lot of the OG reality shows because they weren't as PC and too afraid of like getting canceled. But I've always argued that gossip saves lives and that I watch reality TV in a different way than you guys watch it, than other people watch it. Like I'm watching it from a cultural perspective and understanding where we are being taken as a society and what those shows and the dynamics that happen in those shows reflect about where we are, where we came from and where we're going, as opposed to like actually genuinely caring about these people, thinking that I know them, like the gossip itself being the thing that's driving the passion of why I'm continuing to consume that media. So with that being said, like back to my Justin Bieber, Hailey Bieber, and Selena Gomez deep dive series, like literally 120 parts on TikTok, which is like where I built honestly the majority of my initial following. That whole deep dive for me was not ever about like Justin Bieber, Hailey Bieber, and Selena Gomez. Like at the end of the day, is it like, oh, juicy escapism tea? Yeah, sure. But a lot of my passion in that one came from nostalgia due to the fact that I like actually grew up in the times like you guys were not there in the way that I was there in Justin Bieber 2011 upwards days, like seeing the actual drum pan out in real time, like Justin Bieber 5 feet away from me when I'm sleeping outside of the Setai in Manhattan. So obviously there was a nostalgia aspect to being a believer and being like, I had a front row seat to all of this, but really the larger majority of this had to do with how interesting it is that love triangle shifted like an entire cultural conclusion. And then it also played into things having to do with like religious psychosis, spiritual psychosis, the church being involved, and then exploitation with child stars and media and the mental illness and addiction that sort of creates. So those are my credentials in the sense that like I built an entire piece of art through combining what I feel like is anthropology. And I'm saying that like with a touch of sarcasm with media consumption from like an audience perspective, and then just being someone who's like generally interested in psychology and sociology and seeing how all that comes together. So with that being said, there's a lot to talk about in pop culture this week. And I just want to make myself clear that this isn't like a gossip podcast, a pop culture podcast. I think a lot of the times, especially nowadays, so many different podcast shows are so afraid of saying like the right or the wrong thing and getting canceled and needing to always take a political stance. And I think that we've lost the art of just being able to like yap freely and have a sense of escapism while still being like socially informed to a degree. So as we talk about this stuff, just know that it's not coming from a place of me stomping my foot and being like, this stuff is important and I care about this stuff, but rather that this is things that I've consumed this week and have got me thinking and have gotten the juices really flowing for me. First of all, one of the biggest things that everybody and their mother was posting about was 2016. So astrologically, it's funny because we are stepping into territory that's very reminiscent of 2015 and 2016, but 2016 is one of those years that people like memorialize and have this deep, profound nostalgia and appreciation for, in the sense that like you would literally think that there was like a revolution of enlightenment at the time, when really what it was is just like and like Harambe getting shot. Was that 2016? I really don't even know. Like when I think back to my 2016, I was very locked in cosmetology school. That was like the main meat of what was going on for me at the time. That was my focus. That was the point. I was a year out of high school. I just graduated in 2015. I was very focused on like finding my groove and being like, wow, I really enjoy being a cosmetologist, really feeling like I was in my purpose. This is supposed to be my job. I think I lost my virginity in 2016. Yeah, I think I just turned 18 or was just about to turn 19 maybe. That was like the other notable thing that happened. Nothing worth talking about. And I was hanging out with my friends a lot. I was listening to Child's Play. What Drake album was that? Was it If You're Reading This, It's Too Late? And then by the end of 2016, I graduated cosmetology school. I actually got a little bit depressed for circumstantial, like practical reasons in my life. I just felt like things were really slowing down for me. I feel like I got a little bit uglier. And then on the very last day of 2016, I met the person that I ended up dating for like 5 years. And that took me into an entirely new chapter of my life. So it's not to say that there wasn't much going on. I had very strong tunnel vision on like what I wanted at the time and making it happen professionally at least. But there was no like profound thing that moved the needle for me in terms of being like, oh, what a happier time. Other than the fact that it's like when people were maybe a little bit more, not blind politically, like we had only been just newly introduced to like Trump even possibly being able to be involved politically. I was a little bit more ignorance is bliss at the time. I don't think the average person was very, very, very politically informed in the way that it feels like you have to be today. I think that's the majority of the nostalgia that people are referring to in the sense of saying it was easier. And it was pre-COVID. Like literally any year before pre-COVID, you could say to me and I'd be like, oh my God, that's the best time ever, because it just like wasn't COVID yet. But I do find that funny, and astrologically, whenever we see the current time sort of kick up the past, we usually see reoccurring trends and things start to become relevant again. Like we're seeing the studded phone cases, we're seeing the, crosses in fashion. It's a little bit of a blend. Like I said, there's a few different transits going on at once. So it's not like we're just focusing on 2016. It's really like 2014 to 2017 that we're looking at, even 2019 to some degree. So it's interesting to see like sort of a blend of that coming back up really only like 5-6 years later, if we're looking at the latest year being 2019 becoming relevant again. Like we're seeing the Uggs, we're seeing the Abercrombie, all of that all the way back from like 2012, 2014. It makes me think of like makeup beauty guru days, like when people were doing hauls, things being very glamorous. I was such a big fan at the time of like a mauve, is that how you say it? Dark, like almost muted purple, matte lip, as matte as possible that you could get. And then like a very black carbon winged eyeliner or a smoky eye, very King Kylie 2014, 2015. On my mother, if we get into a matte lip renaissance again, I'm out. Like I'm not participating. I'm not doing it. The idea of a matte lip is actually so disgusting and crusty in hindsight. Like I don't know why we thought, usually most beauty trends are mimicking a particular feature that is emphasized by youth, health, or fertility. So something like having very blushed cheeks, that's showing that you have good blood flow, having very plump skin, the glazed donut look of looking very hydrated. So it's very interesting to me in hindsight how the matte lip like slipped into a beauty trend, because it reflects like lack of hydration and like makes you look dead, if anything, especially against like porcelain, matte, completely opaque foundation slapped on under that. Interesting to me psychologically, like how that happened to slip between the cracks. But I do really miss that era, the makeup beauty era, and it's nice to see that coming back. I have a few posts about this on Twitter. Sorry, I'm not referring to it as X, talking about how we're even seeing some things that are reminiscent of 2008 and 2009 coming in here. So this is when Obama was elected president. This is when the Kanye West Taylor Swift drama happened. This is when Michael Jackson died. This is when Single Ladies came out. Like there's a lot going on in the sky. I've been saying this for some time. 2026 is a big shift. Okay. I know that that's something that astrologers and like tarot people and spiritual people on TikTok say. It's a lot of jargon of like, we're going to feel the shift this year, but we genuinely are stepping into newfound territory. 2025 was the precursor to it, almost like a little bit of a sneak peek that we're pivoting and going into a new direction. And 2026 is really nailing the coffin. So I'm excited. And it's interesting with like the digital renaissance and us always being so obsessed with Y2K things post-COVID that most of the new media that we see now is reminiscent of old nostalgic eras where we kind of need to establish, okay, how do we reference the 2010s, the beyond 2015s? Like, how do we reference the COVID era? And how do we define what this decade means without only jumping back into the past? It's always the 70s, 80s, 90s. Like we typically are on a 20-year cycle of jumping back a decade behind. And it's 2026 and we're talking about things that are reminiscent of only like 5, 6 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, if you will. I don't really know what vibe we would use as a reference point for 2020 onward. I did see someone say that Billie Eilish's, what music video was it? It was Birds of a Feather, I think. Whichever one where she's in the chair and she's like being possessed backwards. I feel like that's like all of her music videos, but it has a very dark, cold, like edge. It's very muted colors in the music video. It's a little bit darker and colder looking. And people were saying that they felt like that was a trend that was very popular during COVID, like the color stories of things looking a little bit bluer, cooler, drained a little bit. And that was something that has been consistent around that time of COVID. Like obviously there's things that are reminiscent of COVID period in terms of referring to 2020, 2021. I'm interested to see like, obviously we're only halfway through this decade, but in hindsight, how we're going to do a throwback to 2025, like what the vibe is if all the media that is being put out right now, especially musically, is in reference to the early 2000s. Like, are we just now on a repetitive cycle where we're going to be jumping between the last 50 years, or do we continue moving forward and creating new things? And that's a nod to the fact too that media is so regurgitated now, like whether it's the artists that we see or the movies that come out, everything is nostalgic. Nothing is new, nothing is fresh. And things that are very innovative like tend to get pushed down, or they don't have as much budget behind them, or they're not signed to an agency. It's an independent artist that doesn't get the attention that they're deserving of. So very interesting stuff. But 2016 has been on the roster. And the other thing is everybody gets it wrong. Everybody gets it wrong. And I don't know if it's because people that are like, that have the time to post like aesthetic photo dumps on TikTok are like probably 19 years old right now and like don't have the full grasp of what 2016 was like. But 2016 was very glitzy and glamoury and glittery. It was not that like beachy, faded Instagram filter time. That was like 2012, 2013. I should really do like a visual video because some people are like, oh my God, missed this 2016 vibe. And I'm like, girl, that is 2012. That is 2012. What are you talking about? You are so far off. 2016 was like right before the Life of Pablo album, Kanye West, when I think of like all the Kardashians at his listening party and like Yeezy was doing the fashion shows. Like that was 2017. So 2016 being the year before that was the lead up of that. The Kardashians were really like honestly having a big moment at the time because Kanye West was now like really taking the family under his wing, especially under fashion. And they, for me, are like a marker, like a sign of the times. I think of Fashion Nova really starting to get their sponsorships with the first really big people like Kylie Jenner, like Cardi B really taking off. Like that's what I think of when I think of 2016 into 2017. I do not think of like what is 2014 beach vibe Tumblr, where there's like a very warm faded filter, the studs on the denim shorts. You bitches are lost. Like you're getting the wrong era. You're getting the wrong era. If we're going to talk about it, be right. Okay, on to the next topic. I did tweet that I felt like lately marriage is very chic to me. And I think the only singular reason I'm thinking this is because people my age that I like went to high school with or people that are very close to me in my life are getting married, and seeing them get married makes me be like, oh my God, this is so exciting and cute and beautiful. And you get to pick out your dress and you get to do all these aesthetic decisions for the actual wedding and the reception. Like it becomes chic to me, I think, because I'm starting to actually see people my age that I admire in love and making marriage this very beautiful thing to me. Marriage has always been a beautiful thing to me, by the way. It's not something at all that I'm like, ew, I don't want to be involved with that. Do I have a lot of thoughts on marriage, period, both legally, relationally, and spiritually? Absolutely. And I'll say my piece if somebody asks me. However, I think that we're in an era where divorce is also very chic. And I think it's very great and beautiful and enlightening. And I think it's very special to see women that actually got married very young, at least in their years, even if they married someone older than them, getting divorced still quite young at like 30 years old, 35 years old. And what inspired this thought was seeing Amanda Batula and Kyle Cook finally get divorced. I say finally because this woman should have just stopped dating this man so early on. However, I do think it's heartbreaking because Amanda Batula is someone who clearly very much was in love with this man. And again, I want to use this moment to disclaim that I don't know these people. I don't actually care about their marriage, but I do think that she represents a very common archetype of a woman. I think having their pretty much entire timeline of their relationship broadcasted on a reality show, television show, especially during a time where, again, like pre-COVID was pretty seemingly authentic to some degree, is telling of like what's going on culturally. Amanda, first of all, Cancer woman. Can we please give Cancer women grace? Actually, I don't even want to say give them grace. I don't think it's that they don't get grace. Can Cancer women please stand up in their romantic relationships. I don't understand. I really don't. I'm so sick of this pattern and I can't even like make fun of it because I feel myself that I was a Cancer woman in the same exact dynamic. However, the thing with Cancer women is they just don't leave. They don't leave. They sink their claws into someone and they stay there literally forever. They are loyal to a fault, to the point where it's like literally hurting themselves and everyone around them, and they're dragging everyone else down with them because they will not like come up for air themselves due to the fact that they are so attached and trying very hard for this person. Can you argue that it's like, okay, once you marry someone or once you get into like a serious relationship like that, you will do anything to make it work? Absolutely. But this is one of those relationships where it's like, my goodness, you're having now fans involved with your marriage being like, girl, I'm a fan and I'm embarrassed. Why is your husband falling asleep on my couch at my house? Like, why is he still here? Imagine a fan of you and your husband posting on Snapchat your 50, how old is he? Your old husband on this fan's couch, and they're annoyed with your husband too. Like just as much as you get annoyed, where they're like, why is he still in my house? Like, is he gonna get out of here? Like, that is humiliating. And cheating, people seemingly have different rules with cheating. Like, you can't argue what someone is and isn't okay with when it comes to infidelity within their own relationship and their own marriage. But the thing with the fan sleeping on the couch is absurd to me. That is insane. That is not okay. That crosses such an insane line. I'm very happy for her that she's getting this divorce, because I think that the best thing that can happen to a woman is leaving a bad relationship, even though she's going to have that initial phase of like, oh my God, I hate my life. I'm literally like drowning underwater. However, I do think women also have a tendency to do that mourning period within the relationship before they actually walk away and leave. I think that's the last stage before they leave. And by the time they leave, they're already kind of over it. I've definitely experienced that myself in my own personal life. Women, I think, wait until they're like absolutely miserable and it's beyond reconciliation for them before they actually fully leave. And then you have that last sit down with the boyfriend or the husband where they're like, I'll literally do anything. And you're like, girl, I walked out the door 6 months ago. You just didn't know it. Like, I mentally checked out and now I'm just physically moving my stuff. But I feel like one of the best things that can happen to a woman in this situation is leaving, because in the world is your oyster. You get all the brand deals, you get all the opportunities. And is that good? Debatable, in the sense that when I think of like the Ariana Madix effect of getting cheated on in front of the entire world and the humiliation ritual that comes with that, but then also being uplifted by brands that aren't actually supporting you. They're really exploiting your situation, but providing you with at least a big fat check in doing so. And Ariana Madix is one of those people where love her, actually inspires me so much. Such an incredible woman in the sense of like how she's played the game professionally. But once you like zoom into the details of the relation dynamics, all of that, you're like, wait a second, this is actually like everyone's kind of messy in this situation. It's not just this guy. It gets, a little bit more complex, but no one ever likes to zoom in that far because it's supposed to be man cheating on woman bad. Let's reward the woman. And I'm also like such a supporter in that. I want to be clear. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be doing that. But in terms of like Amanda and Kyle Cook's relationship, from what we've seen on the show, very, very justified for her to have left like literally 10 years ago. Is it sad in the sense that I feel like this woman on paper could have lived like a much happier last decade of her life had she realized her worth earlier? Yes. It does sort of have that feeling of like, oh my God, she just wasted all this time on this man that has years on her, that kind of like took these years away from her. Yes, but I also think that there's this like second phase of life that comes after the separation where they really truly find themselves for the first time in a way that maybe they wouldn't have had available to them had they not gone through such an insufferable relationship. I think that there's a very liberating period that comes after that, not only rewarding professionally and monetarily through opportunities, but also like personally in terms of growth and personal evolution. Like, I think that I could see her having her freak flag fly. I wonder if she's going to get with Jesse Solomons. I wonder if she is going to have like this major takeoff with her own personal brand or start something new. I am interested in the logistics of Loverboy and how that's going to be handled legally, and also Summer House. However, I think that they do have a spinoff in the mix, and I wonder if that's sort of like, you get this, I get this. I'm very, very interested in Amanda Batula's path moving forward, especially with now probably being so much more in closer arms with Paige DeSorbo, who obviously went through her relationship breakup. What was it, like a year ago? I don't even know what the timeline is with that, but we have some newly single women that are dating, that are having the world open up to them now that they're not having this like insane man screaming in their ear and like actually being horrendous to them on live television. So I can only imagine what happens behind closed doors. And even outside of like the girl power dynamic of it all, it's very interesting for me specifically when it comes to the legal themes and the professional themes. I love seeing someone do a rebrand once they become single, once they sort of spin off away from this relationship that maybe they were so associated with, where their individuality got wrapped into the unit of the relationship, and then departing from that, dissolving both the literal assets, the legal assets, the marital assets, and then their own personality, like having to see if it can stand on its own two legs without leaning into what was the relationship being the defining factor of like why we know this person to begin with. So I'm very interested in that. And congratulations, Amanda Batula. I think everyone can agree that you made the right choice. Sorry if the lighting looks a little bit different. I had to take a steak break for my iron because I literally felt like I was going to pass out. I'm like the most annoying person with that lately. It's all I talk about, but it's because it's dictating my entire life and the quality of my life, and it's completely ruining it actually, but I'm going to fix that soon, and we're going to talk about that once I find the solution. Okay, tell me lies. Lucy, you can move schools. Do you know that, right? Why is nobody telling you that all of this could literally be over forever if you literally just transferred to a different school? 1. 2, why has nobody at the very least verbally assaulted Steven yet? Why is nobody like, Steven, you're a fucking loser. You have no future ahead of you. You're exactly like your narcissistic mother. Like, you're such a bum. Get a job. Like, literally actually get a job. You need a job, 1. And 2, like, we're not scared of you. Why is everybody so, like, at least have a poker face at the very least to not immediately show your cards and be like, Steven, I'm scared of you. Like, he knows that, and that's why he weaponizes it against you guys. I know it's a show, but it's actually like one of those shows, and that's how you know they're good actors, that gets under my skin so much where I literally like need to pause and take a break because I'm just like, I can't do this. Also, people like Steven do exist. I've seen them up close and personal firsthand. And for people that think this is just like a show and they're like, oh my God, there's no way that things would happen like this. Yes, they would. Some people actually are as psychotic as Steven DeMarco. I'm just so sick of like him being clearly an actual enemy and problem to everybody in the friend group in their own way. And it's not a secret. They all know that everyone's kind of like whispering about how he's such an issue. And yet it's like anytime they go to a party or they have a hangout, it's like, Steven's coming. Like, who the fuck keeps inviting him? You're all such like, please. I literally can't. He has all of you wrapped around his goddamn finger. One thing that does make me incredibly happy about this show though is that literally everybody on this show is dating each other in real life. I know that Lucy and Steven are together in real life. I found out that Pippa and Wrigley actually are together in real life too. And so is the couple of the teacher that's sleeping with, what's her name, the little mousy girl that everybody likes and for some reason bothers me. I literally don't know why. I think the actual actress herself, like, I don't know if she reminds me of someone. I don't know if it's her voice or something. I don't know if it's the character. Obviously it's a show. Like, I don't actually care, but something about her. I think it's because, and it's being revealed in the show a little bit, that it's like, you know, she's like, poor me because of her life. And that's equally like being the thing that dictates the problems in her life. Same as everybody else. Like their biggest insecurities are the things that are controlling all of the issues in their entire life. But the teacher that essentially took advantage of her, I guess, slept with her, and the wife of the professor are actually together in real life as well. I love that. Could you imagine just like having this triple couple date every single filming day and you're all just hanging out and you're actually getting to go like to bed with each other at the end of the day? Like, I actually love that. And it's kind of cute that they're all in a relationship because, like, I don't know, they have kissing scenes, you know, all these very sexual scenes where you're not the only one suffering. Like, you can be like, I'm literally watching my girlfriend get sky, you know? Anyways, Lucy is like genuinely one of the prettiest people I feel like I've ever seen in this world. I loved seeing, what's her name? Maud Apatow's sister, Iris Apatow, is that her name? I love seeing her in there. I talk about Judd Apatow so much to people in my life that just like don't know who he is, because I think he actually lives my dream life in the sense that he's behind the camera and produces all these like very funny ideas, these concepts for movies, and is just such a fucking rolling in dough guy and gets to just cast all of his real life best friends and his kids. And now they have all these movies to look back on to see his kids growing up, and all of his best friends and memories are made into these comedies. Like, that's actually my dream life. And I honestly think that that's probably where I'm supposed to be going in terms of my calling, because anyone who knows me and who's been like close to me knows that like OG days, like I'm talking about like when I first moved to Connecticut in like 3rd grade, I have always been filming everything. I used to actually, this is like humiliating, walk around with my Acer laptop open, like facing everyone this way to film on the webcam, like with my friend group. And I've just always been a friend group girly. I love a friend group. I love a friend group and feeling included in what feels like a non-blood family, a chosen family, and then just recording the entire process. And so the idea of like this big actual movie maker doing that same concept, but as an adult with adult money and like his own children and family, literally a dream. And marriage, like, come on, very jealous of him. I hope that my life turns out that way. I'm not actually going to hope, I'm going to make it happen. Tell me lies. Yeah, really, there's not much that I have to say beyond that other than like, Lucy, tell the goddamn truth. Like, you literally are fucking up everything for yourself. Steven's fucking ex-girlfriend, I literally don't know why I can't remember her name right now. She's my favorite character on the show. She's such a little queen. She's such a little boss. Like, she's such a little mastermind, and she's just incredible. I love her. I like the turn of events that is happening with her and Pippa. Diana, that's her name. Diana, God bless you, Diana. You are such an incredible character, and I'm sure you're incredible in real life too. I like the pivot of her and Pippa having a romantic relationship. let me say something to these like college freshman girls that are watching the show from their actual dorm and like real time watching a show about college toxicity from their college, deciding that Pippa's the bad person in the show. Are you fucking brain dead? Do you have worms for brains? People that are like, are we just gonna normalize Pippa cheating? Like, you're literally dumb. First of all, Wrigley is genuinely in love with this other little mousy girl. I'm sorry, I keep calling her that. I keep forgetting her name. And also, this is exactly what Stephen DeMarco would want you to think. This is how he's gotten in your head as an audience member, because you are getting distracted from the real enemy and the real villain here by thinking, why is Pippa cheating? Like, first of all, she's having a lesbian moment. She's finding herself. It is clearly not rooted in malice. The girl also literally just got raped, so there's still some reverb, I'm sure, from that traumatizing experience. And guess what? Diana's the one who knew about it, who saw it, who saved her. So of course she's finding a sense of solace and safety in this woman. And at the same time, is infidelity okay ever? No. But she thinks that her boyfriend's on suicide watch. Why would she be like, hey, I actually think I like a girl, when he's going through what he's going through? And Stephen DeMarco would want you to focus on the wrong thing. And I'm sure he's going to use that to blackmail Pippa and have something on her too, since he has something up his sleeve for literally every little person. And Pippa, like, with the way that she is so monotone like this, like, I don't know if she's going to be the one to stick up to him either. I do like that Wrigley is over his shit and is like, dude, you're a loser. Like, nothing you say or do is going to faze me. I do like that he's loose from his grip. And I do like that Diana's like, I cannot wait to abort your baby. It's going to be the best day of my life. Because, yes. I also wonder she wasn't actually pregnant, because something about this season is like, it feels a little choppy. It feels a little fast paced. We're getting introduced to new people very quickly. There's just a lot of like moving parts that feel, there's a catalytic sort of energy, like we're rushing. There's a sense of urgency. And to my knowledge, I think this is the last season, so maybe they're trying to get through a lot very quickly. I did read the book Tell Me Lies back in 2024. And to be honest, I don't quite remember it. However, I know that it ended way, like a long time ago within where the story is at now. Like, I think it ended literally with the wedding. There was still some like flash forward, flashback, but like, I don't think we had this amount of characters. And we certainly didn't get zoomed into the personal lives of each character. Like, the book was very much about Lucy and Steven. And I really like that there's moments in the season where I kind of forget and like don't really care about what's going on with Lucy and her mess of a life. And that I'm actually now so much more interested in like the other stories going on with the other characters. I think they've done an incredible job at like evolving each of them and giving them their own sense of depth. And I cannot wait to see how the remainder of this season goes. But Lucy, girl, like, seriously, the truth is your friend. You should have been honest a long time ago. Are you under a lot of pressure and you're dealing with a narcissistic, manipulative relationship and this man's literally a supervillain? Yes. And I'm going to give you grace for that. But also, Lucy, like, you remind me of Kristen Stewart in Twilight in the same way that she's like, no, where it's like, oh my God, can you just like screw your head on straight and make one good decision? Thank you. Okay, next topic. I literally see, like, talking about the show, it stresses me out. It gets to me. I like need a massage after talking about Tell Me Lies. Okay, the next topic on the docket is Hailey Bieber essentially sending a cease and desist to a TikTok user that made a very convicted statement that Hailey Bieber was getting emotionally, at the very least, abused by Justin Bieber due to his addictive tendencies. And I believe that she is a licensed psychologist, so that was her credibility in saying this statement, but she was very convicted in stating it as if it was like factual information, like something that has been confirmed in the press rather than just speculation. And I didn't dive too deeply into this. Like, it's not something that I'm even thoroughly interested in. I guess just the dynamic of a celebrity having to sue like a normal working class person over their content is something that obviously strikes up some conversation, and whether she was right in doing so or not. So again, Hailey Bieber is one of those hotspot celebrities where it's just people have a very personal opinion on her. She's very polarizing. You know, people either really love her, really hate her. And I think that a lot of this, especially because it has to do with women, comes from the fact that people either identify with Hailey Bieber or against Hailey Bieber due to their personal experiences. So people are either like, I'm a Selena or I'm a Hailey, and therefore they hate one or the other based on where they see themselves in. Just as any other celebrity, typically when you like a certain celebrity, you don't always have to relate to them, but there's something about them that you feel defensive of or find very respectable about them, and it mirrors something about yourself. Like when it comes to, for example, like sexual assault cases or something like that with male celebrities, male predators, like women are often fighting for the victims because they they see themselves, they know what it feels like. They've been in those shoes before, that position before. So when it comes to like celebrity drama, that's a little bit more petty and frivolous. Or if we think of like all the way back with Angelina Jolie and Jennifer Aniston with Brad Pitt, like you're either an Angelina or you're a Jennifer. So she's a very controversial character, period, right? And then I think that also gets wrapped into her 2023 drama, where we saw a lot of what felt like Hailey Bieber being like an insane fan and stalking Selena Gomez and trying to emulate her. Like, depending on what side of the fence that you're on, everybody has had the experience of either being similar to Hailey or being similar to Selena and picking their person in the fight, right? So she already has a lot of heat behind her by default. Now, people also relate or don't relate to her when it comes to the dynamic with her and her husband, Justin Bieber, whether they find that they relate to Hailey and they are in support of her marriage, or they think that Hailey is like a humiliating position by being his wife and sticking by his side and thinking that she deserves to be punished for that, or at least humiliated by that and not receiving any sort of support. So at the end of the day, like I always say, I don't know these people. We will never, ever, ever, ever know what goes on behind closed doors. And I think it's very naive and quite not only entitled to like feel like you need to be involved in what's going on and like have the tea on someone's personal life, but it's humorous to me to like form an opinion when you are not in these people's houses, just as much as like in your personal life, like someone that you go to work with, like judging their marriage when it's like, you do not know what I try not to judge relationships because they're complex, like they're complex and you will never truly know what goes on behind closed doors. But with that aside, people find it very telling that she decided to send a cease and desist to this girl out of like everything that you could ever legally coming for somebody that is just like a normal TikTok user saying something that people have been saying about her and her husband for years now. And this was all a little bit more heated because she, I guess, initially reposted the girl's initial video. People kind of took that as a sign that she was trying to tell and agree that he is an addict and that he is abusing her, and then denied that she reposted it despite the fact that people have proof and screen recordings and evidence of it. And then her doing her usual thing similar to Selena Gomez, where it's like, I'm going to come out and clear my name and clear the air and say, I actually never even posted that, like gaslighting everybody, and then legally pushing up against this girl. And this girl actually pushed back. I have seen her on my timeline before. I've seen her post she kind of teeters on the line of not QAnon, but very much like into the conspiracy themes of celebrities being predators, which like is a fact. We know that now. I don't think that anybody is insane to come out and say that we think that celebrities or people in power are doing very bad things. Like, I think that that's like not even a secret anymore. Maybe a few years ago, especially like pre-COVID, people saying that, it kind of seemed like you were crazy or you were like an Illuminati truther or something like that. But I've seen her say some controversial things that have nothing to do, like there's a lot of content similar that she posts that usually explore just power and control dynamics, period, across the board. And I am very interested in those themes as well. So there's things that she's posted before that I have enjoyed from an informative perspective. And then there's things like this where I'm like, okay, can we give it up? Like, does it really matter at the end of the day? If you are right or wrong, like, what does that really do? And so it feels less educational and informative from her psychological, degree perspective, and more of like having personal beef with Hailey Bieber and trying to humiliate her. And this is where I don't like where things take a turn, where it's like, okay, and if that were to be true, why are we literally making a laughing stock and like pointing and laughing at the woman who's essentially being abused, if that is true, rather than being like, oh my God, girl, like we're here for you. She, I think, referred to Hailey Bieber as a codependent what the hell was it? Like basically saying that she, as well as other women that are similar to Hailey Bieber, settle for mediocrity due to the fact that they're codependent and they tolerate what is less than respectable behavior from their spouses. It's just interesting to me, out of like everything that you can double down on to justify your point and like really stand on something, it's like the thing that she really wants to hold power in is saying, Hailey Bieber, you are threatened by me because I'm telling the truth about your marriage and you can't handle it. Like it is kind of bizarre to me. Like this is one of those things where, like, not even about this girl personally. I don't even know her username. I'm sorry. This is one of those things that you're going to have to look up yourselves. I do not provide the names of anybody because I literally cannot retain any information when it comes to somebody's name. But it's one of those things where I do feel like if you are this involved and wrapped up in the personal lives of somebody, like you actually do need to get a hobby or do something. Granted, this girl is a content creator. Like this is her job. So it's not like, I don't think that this is something, she definitely makes an income off of this kind of content. And when it comes to this kind of content, you do need to engagement farm and like you do kind of need to play play the game in order to keep your numbers up and to keep your income coming in. And so I do think that that probably plays a role in her conviction. But it just, there's someone using celebrities from a point of using them as an example, learning from them, analyzing them, and kind of like having this removed perspective of like, okay, at the end of the day, guys, like it doesn't really matter. We don't really know what we're talking about, but maybe we can like observe this and draw some lessons from it that we can apply to our own lives. Anytime I've made any sort of celebrity content, that's kind of been my perspective on it. And then there's this territory where there's a line that's crossed where it literally feels like evil and malicious. And that's the kind of energy that I feel like I'm getting from this girl in this particular situation. I'm not saying that she by default is evil and malicious as a person, but it hits this abrasive point where it's just like, what are you trying to prove and why do you need to prove it so bad? And is this personal? Like, that's the thing about psychologists, therapists, like they're always a little crazy. Like there's always a little something going on. And I do think you have to have something going on to be so interested in how the mind works and like manipulation tactics and things like that. I do think you have to be a victim of them at one point in order to be so educated on them. But it's just one of those things where I'm like, it's not like you're telling the truth about something profound that's affecting everybody as a whole and you're having someone legally challenge you and you're like, no, I'm standing my ground. This is literally about you being like, no, Haley, you are a loser. Like you're just afraid of it and that's why you're suing me. And it's like, what would you want her to do? Like, I'm sorry. I don't know if I would send a cease and desist. I'll never know until if I ever am in that position. And I hope that I'm not, because I can imagine that it's like insufferable that years and years and years into your marriage, you still have people every single day obsessing over the target on your back of you being married to this person. And I would find myself in Hailey Bieber's shoes too. Like, even if I was fucking crazy and I was a fan and I was obsessed with his ex-girlfriend and all that, where I'd just be like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to kill myself? Like, literally, what do you want me to do? And I remember making a video when she was having Saturn squaring her sun back in 2023. And she was literally like, guys, please stop. What do you want from me? What can I do to make this stop? And I can imagine that's very hopeless and an impossible situation. I don't know. Very interesting to me. I guess my opinion on it is I'm just like, why is it so important to you? Make the content. And I guess at this point, once it gets legal, I understand like some people are rebellious in the sense that if they are told to shut their mouth, they're only going to want to scream louder. But out of everything you're going to scream about, why is it this? Hailey Bieber? Like, this is what we're standing on? I don't know. Interesting to me. Okay, the Beckham family drama. Again, another thing I'm very far removed out of. You need to listen to somebody else's podcast if you want the tea on what's going on, because I really don't understand the beginning and end of it. Also, I am like not a Beckham girl. Like, I understand that people are obsessed with them. I just never had that bug bite me. There's a lot of very big celebrities that I like. It's not that I don't understand the hype. It's that I just like somehow that realm never like recruited me in. Like I was never touched by some external thing that drew me into the Beckhams of like wanting to be obsessed with them. Obviously, I know a large part of that is the Spice Girls and people like also think David Beckham's very sexy. And I can agree with both of them being very iconic, but I just like don't have that obsession of like, oh my God, they are icons. And it's not because they're not. I've never gotten the itch to be involved or curious about them. But the only reason that I was curious about the Beckham family drama is I know that people are like, this is a shame. Any sort of family drama where in the public eye, families going against each other, it's always going to be a little bit heartbreaking because it's family, right? Unless someone's literally a predator and you are going no contact with them because they did something absolutely horrific to you, that's one thing. And maybe that is the case here. I don't really know. And we're never going to really know. I wanted to look into it astrologically into Nicola, is that how you say her name? Nicola's chart. And I do think that there could be like a looming pregnancy sort of drama going on in the back end of what's playing into the conviction of Brooklyn Beckham standing so strongly on defending his wife in a situation that seemingly doesn't require him to be that passionate. I'm just looking at her chart astrologically. This isn't something that I'm speculating through any other realm other than just astrologically looking at her chart. Even if I did not know her, I'd be like, okay, I feel like this person's having fertility transits. I did mention this on Twitter too, and somebody was like, actually, she's 90 pounds and she just got casted for a ballerina, so that can't happen. There's been plenty of times where I've speculated pregnancy for someone astrologically, and there's like some reason why it can't happen, or it didn't happen, or there's no way that it's going to happen, and then it does. And that's why I say, like, I don't know anything about this person. I do not know a single thing about Nicola Peltz. I don't even know how you say her name. I'm not like putting two and two together and being like, perhaps she's pregnant. I am literally just looking at it astrologically, and then if the things line up, they do, and if they don't, they don't. I never delete anything that I predict, because oftentimes things can come and go and pass, and like we don't find out about things until like years later. And I did see someone say like, she's 90 pounds. She got casted for a ballerina. One, how do you know how much she weighs? Maybe she did talk about it because she's getting casted for an actual role and people were like, girl, you're literally Anno, like what's going on? And it happens to be for something that she got casted for. But another thing that I saw someone say is they were like, oh, we think that she had a miscarriage a few months ago. How do you speculate a miscarriage? That really is interesting to me. That's confusing to me. First of all, people like ever assuming that someone's pregnant just off of what might be an assumed baby bump, one, is not only rude, but is also like not ever a good indicator of trying to decide if somebody's actually pregnant or not. So again, this isn't me like seeing things or putting things together. I'm literally just looking at her chart astrologically. And the first pass of this was back in August, and someone was like, yeah, that's when the rumors of her having a miscarriage happened. I really don't understand how you speculate a miscarriage unless there's like an outside source that's spilling exclusive information to somebody personally. But the first pass that she had of the fertility transit was back in August, and then we're actually having it literally again right now as we speak. And it makes sense too, because it's on her son. Her son is her identity, her career, her public visibility. And there's obviously a lot of eyes on her right now, not only because of professional things going on, but with what's going on with the Beckham family drama. The far more stimulated fertility transits are going to be happening in June and July of this year. So I know that she's going to start filming for this movie soon. So it's interesting to me. I don't know if she's going to get taken out of it. I don't know if she actually is pregnant. It could just be that there's a lot more exposure and visibility on her, because we are talking about Jupiter transits, and that tends to expand anything that it touches, good or bad. So it could be that she's getting a lot more visibility on her as an individual rather than via her marriage or the family that she's now being married into. But Jupiter is going to be touching on both of her luminaries. And then I also think her natal Venus and Jupiter, all of which definitely points to this idea of being fertile in growth. So whether that's not a literal baby, she could be pregnant with an idea, with a concept, with a new era of her career. But I definitely think that there's a lot of expansion happening with her. We do not have her birth time, so I don't know where in the chart, like the area, which house this is activating, but I do know that it's aspecting her personal planets regardless. And I'd be very interested if there was a pregnancy involved. And upon mentioning that, somebody sent me a screenshot of something that Brooklyn Beckham put on his story about him saying that he was essentially like fighting for this and against his wife because he's trying to protect him and his future family. So I don't know if that's indicative of them saying like there's a looming pregnancy that is being, you know, a little bit under the wraps right now and they haven't yet announced it. And he's saying like, I'm protecting my future family. When in reality, I think that can be a lot of speculation too, because I think that that's just like a phrase where it's like, he could be saying years down the road, like, I would want to protect my future family. However, with how convicted he is and passionate he is, I wouldn't be surprised if this is like coming from the mouth of somebody who has found like a newfound sense of responsibility in being this like future father down like a few months down the line, and he just has all this conviction to protect his wife now that she's pregnant. You know, it could be something like that as well. I really don't know all the nooks and crannies of this, so I really do not have a stance on it, but astrologically that is something that I observed. There was a few more things that I want to talk about, but I think I'm actually going to save them for next time, not only because my battery's dying, but because my actual like physical battery is dying and I feel like I'm losing the light behind my eyes. Like I really need to get my health stuff together. But thank you guys for watching. I feel like this might have been a shorter episode. I had to keep pausing it, but I also know that I was speaking a mile a minute because I'm over caffeinated. So I hope that it was not too difficult to listen to. Thank you guys for sitting with me today. Let me know if you liked that we were talking about a little bit more things that are happening in like pop culture and in media, if this was interesting for you, if there's other things you want me to talk about, or if you want me to stick to this more like philosophical life lessons, spirituality, astrology sort of take as well. We can certainly do a blend of both. Thank you guys so much for watching. Follow me at K-Money Hotline on Instagram, on TikTok, and then Young Kales, YUNGKALEZ on literally every single platform. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you soon.